My phone rang on a random Tuesday. It was 3 in the afternoon. I was in the backyard, the one my Lucy had designed before she left us. The voice on the other end was trembling. Mr. Robert, yes. Who is calling Jason? The photographer from Mike's wedding. Do you have a few minutes? I would like you to come alone to my studio. It is important. My heart started racing. 6 months had passed since that wonderful day when I saw my only son walk down the aisle. 6 months since I spent every last penny of my savings to make his dream come true. And now a photographer was calling me with such urgency. Is there a problem with the photos? I asked, trying to stay calm. He took a deep breath. I found something while going through the files. Something you need to see before anyone else. Please. Do not tell your son anything yet. Trust me. I hung up with freezing hands. I grabbed my wallet, that brown leather one I have used for 15 years, a gift from my Lucy, and left without telling anyone. Vanessa, my daughter-in-law, was locked in her bedroom. My bedroom, actually, but that is a story for later. The studio was 20 minutes away. Every red light felt like an eternity. My head was spinning. Were the photos ruined? Did they want more money? I had already paid for the entire package. When I arrived, Jason was waiting for me at the door. He was a young guy in his 30s, with the dark circles of someone who has not slept well. Thank you for coming so quickly, he said, guiding me to a room in the back. A huge computer was on, with dozens of photos open on the screen. Robert. I did not want to be the messenger for this. But if it were my dad, I would want someone to tell him. He clicked on a folder. These photos, I was editing the last remaining files. I zoomed in on some to adjust the lighting. The image filled the screen, and my world fell apart. There, in the back of the reception hall, hidden from the family's view, my daughter-in-law Vanessa was pressed against another man. It was not an innocent hug. It was a kiss. Hands intertwined. Bodies pressed against each other. Her face had that expression. That intimacy of someone who knows every inch of that mouth. There is more, Jason whispered, clicking on another photo. There were 5 images, 5 different angles, all in the same dark corner of the hall. And the man was Chris, my son's best friend, the best man at the wedding. I felt my stomach turn. I had to hold on to the table to keep from falling. When were these taken? I managed to ask with a weak voice. During the reception, between 11:30 and midnight, while everyone was dancing on the floor. They hid over there. Jason zoomed in on one of the photos. You could see Vanessa's wedding dress. That $24,000 dress I paid for. Imported. With Swarovski crystals. You could see the new wedding ring on her finger. And you could see with absolute clarity that it was not a moment of weakness. It was calculated. It was intimate. It was pure betrayal. Why did you wait 6 months to show me this? I asked, without taking my eyes off the screen. I delivered all the edited photos a month after the wedding. Remember, these were lost in the wrong folder on the server. I just found them last week. I hesitated to tell you, but I could not pretend I had not seen anything. I took a deep breath. My throat was burning. Can you send me these photos? He nodded and handed me a USB drive. They are already here. And, Robert, I am truly sorry. I left that studio with no destination in mind. I got into my truck and sat there, motionless in the parking lot, holding that USB drive like it was a bomb. My son had been betrayed at his own wedding, and I had paid $210,000 to finance this farce. But the worst was yet to come, because when I returned home that night and saw Vanessa laughing on the phone in my living room, using my armchair, drinking from my glass, I understood that this was not just a betrayal. It was a scam. And I was in the middle of it all. Mike had tagged along, grumbling. As always, my son never liked family gatherings. He preferred to stay home working on his computer. Sometimes until dawn at that tech company. 37 years old. Single, completely focused on his career. I had already lost hope of ever seeing grandchildren. But that day he showed up looking different. Bright eyes, a wide smile. And next to him, a young woman with straight hair down to her waist, light eyes, wearing a floral dress that complemented her figure. Dad, I want you to meet Vanessa. She kissed my cheek, smelling of that expensive perfume you find in high-end department stores. Robert, Mike talks about you so much. It is such a pleasure to finally meet you. 29 years old. In advertising, living alone in a small apartment downtown. Or at least that is what she claimed. And I was charmed. Because after 8 years of loneliness, ever since my Lucy passed away from a massive heart attack, leaving me a widower at 61, I had forgotten how good it felt to see my son so happy. Vanessa started coming over to my house often. Every week she found a reason. She would come for dinner, bring desserts, ask for advice on how to make a pot roast, always with that sweetness, calling me Pops. Pops, teach me how to make that beef cut Mike loves so much. Pops, can I ask you for some advice about my job, Pops? You are the father-in-law I always dreamed of. I melted. What an idiot. My house is in Lincoln Park. Chicago. A good neighborhood. 3 bedrooms. A large living room. And a backyard with an oak tree that turns beautiful every spring. Lucy and I bought this property 30 years ago when it was still under construction. We paid for every brick with our own sweat. When she passed away, she left me this house and about $150,000 in life insurance and savings. I lived off our 2 pensions. I worked 40 years as a civil engineer. We never lacked anything. We never had many luxuries. But it was mine. Eat ours. Mike grew up in this house. Every room held a memory. The mark on the garage door frame where we measured his height every birthday. The hole in the bedroom wall he made playing superheroes. The red wine stain on the carpet from that unforgettable Christmas. And Vanessa looked at all of that with the eyes of someone appraising its price tag. But I did not notice. I was too busy feeling like there was someone who cared about me. Because that is what she did. She gave me attention. She made me feel important again. She called me every day. Pops, how was your day? She sent me texts with cute emojis. Invited me out to eat. Always splitting the bill. Of course, but making me feel included. I grew fond of her. And when, after a year of dating, Mike proposed to her right in front of my oak tree, I cried so much my tears hit the ground. Dad, you are going to have the daughter-in-law you always wanted, Mike said, hugging me tight. I believed him. 3 months later came the conversation. The 3 of us were in the living room drinking coffee after Sunday dinner. Vanessa had her nails freshly done. She was always very put together. And Mike was nervously playing with his mug. Dad, we need to talk about the wedding. My heart raced with joy. Do you have a date? Yes. In 5 months. But the problem is, he looked at Vanessa, who put on a sad expression. We want to do something special. Memorable, but our budget is really tight. Vanessa put her hand on his arm. Mike, we do not need a big party. The important thing is being together. But I saw that spark in her eyes. That expectation. How much do you need? I asked. Dad, we cannot accept. Mike held my hand. You are my only son. It is the only time I will see you get married. How much? Vanessa sighed, as if she were embarrassed. The venue we dreamed of, with everything we imagined, costs $15,000. I swallowed hard. It was a lot of money. But we can do something simpler. She added quickly, Really? Robert, I do not want you to sacrifice yourself. I looked at them. I saw Mike holding her hand, that hope in his eyes. And I thought, when will I be able to make my son this happy again? I will pay for it. I said, all of it. You will have the wedding you deserve. Vanessa stood up and hugged me. Pops, you are an angel. I promise to take very good care of Mike. And of you, too. We are a family now. Family, how dearly that word was going to cost me. In the following months, I started transferring the money. First, $17,000 for the catering. She chose a venue out in the suburbs, a garden with a view, capacity for 200 people. Then, $24,000 more for the dress. It had to be imported, with those crystals that make you look like a princess. Flowers, $16,000. DJ, lighting, party favors. Invitations, $33,000 more. The photographer, $9,000. In the end, it was $210,000. Practically everything I had. But the smile on Mike's face was worth every penny, or so I thought. The wedding day was beautiful. Vanessa looked stunning in that dress covered in crystals. Mike cried when he saw her walk in. I cried too. Chris, his best friend since college, gave an emotional speech as the best man. He talked about friendship, about loyalty, about how Mike had found the perfect woman. Loyalty, what a bitter joke. The reception was everything they had promised. Plentiful food, loud music, dancing until dawn. I was exhausted but happy. I thought I had fulfilled my role as a father. When the honeymoon ended, a 2-week trip to Hawaii that they paid for, they would return, find an apartment, and get on with their lives. But that is not what happened. And when the photographer's phone call came 6 months later, everything made sense. Every lingering hug from Vanessa, every strange phone call, she stepped out of the room to answer. Every time Chris showed up at the house just to visit the couple, they had used me. They had turned my fatherly love into the fuel for the perfect scam. And the worst part was, the masquerade was just beginning. The return from the honeymoon. The first 2 weeks after they got back from Hawaii were strange. Vanessa stopped by my house to show me the pictures. Turquoise waters, colorful cocktails, Mike smiling. Everything looked perfect. Pops, it was amazing. Thank you again for making all this possible. She kissed me, but this time the hug was quick, mechanical. Mike was acting different too, quiet. When I asked him how work was going, he answered in single syllables. Good. Dad. Busy. I figured it was just exhaustion from the trip. The 3rd week, Mike came over alone to have coffee with me. It was a Saturday morning, and I had baked some cheese pastries. The ones he has loved since he was a kid. Dad, we need to talk. My stomach dropped. When someone starts a sentence like that, nothing good ever follows. Tell me, son. He played with his coffee mug without looking at me. It is just that the lease on Vanessa's apartment expired, and mine did too. We are staying temporarily with a friend of hers, but we cannot stay there for long. I waited for him to continue. We are looking for a place, but it is tough. Rents in Chicago are incredibly high. $2,000, maybe $2,500 a month for something decent. And with the wedding expenses still on the credit card. He did not finish the sentence, But I understood the request before he even made it. Do you want to live here? He finally looked at me. Just for a few months. Dad, until we save up for first month's rent and a deposit. It would be a huge saving. And besides, you would not be alone. It is a big house. There is space. My heart squeezed. A part of me, the idiot part, the part that still believed in family, was glad to have my son close again, to no longer wake up in this silent house with only me and the memories. Of course. Ils sont. This house has always been yours too. His smile was full of relief. Thank you. Dad, I promise we will not be a bother. Vanessa is organized. Clean. Quiet. You will not even notice we are here. A lie. They moved in on a rainy Thursday. They brought 3 large suitcases. Boxes of books. Clothes. Stuff. Vanessa looked around the house as if appraising every corner. Robert. Can we use the bedroom at the end of the hall? It is the biggest one. The bedroom at the end of the hall was my bedroom. The bedroom I shared with Lucy for 30 years. The bed where she slept for the last time. The closet that still held 2 of her blouses that I could not bring myself to give away. Vanessa. That is my bedroom. Oh. But do you use it? She asked with that innocent tone. Because if you do not mind, we would sleep there. It has more space, better airflow, and the front bedroom is smaller, but super cozy for you. Mike appeared carrying a box. Dad, it does not have to be right now. We can wait for you to get organized. But Vanessa was already opening the bedroom door. Oh, how amazing. Look, honey, it even has a walk-in closet. I stood there motionless, feeling the floor disappear beneath my feet. It is fine, I muttered. You can take the bedroom. It took me 3 days to move my things to the small front bedroom. Every piece of clothing I took out of the closet was a stab. Every object I wrapped in newspaper. Our wedding frame. The watch Lucy gave me. The collection of miniature cars I had built over the years. Was a piece of me being ripped away. Vanessa did not even help. She stayed in the living room playing on her phone, laughing. The first 2 weeks were quiet. Vanessa woke up late, drank her coffee, stayed in the bedroom, or went out. Mike worked all day. He came back at 8, ate a dinner, and went to sleep. I cooked, washed the dishes, and cleaned the house, just like always. But by the end of the 3rd week, things started to change. Vanessa walked into the kitchen on a Saturday morning while I was preparing lunch. She wrinkled her nose. Robert, what is that smell I am making? Pot roast. Pot roast, she grimaced. But that is so heavy and greasy. Mike is trying to lose weight. Did you not know? Besides, this house traps the smell of cooking all day. We need to open more windows. Go figure. I opened the window. I kept cooking. The next day, she reorganized my entire kitchen. I walked in that morning and recognized nothing. The pots I kept in the upper cabinet were down below. The utensils that used to be in the right drawer were scattered everywhere. The spices I kept by the stove were sealed in a plastic container. Vanessa, why did you touch my things? She came out of the bedroom tying her robe. Oh, Pops, I am sorry. It is just that it was so disorganized. I set up a better system. It is more functional now. Functional. My kitchen, where I had cooked for 40 years, had become functional. And that was just the beginning. In the following days, Vanessa started complaining about everything. The TV in the living room was too old. Robert, this is still a tube TV. Nobody uses that anymore. The furniture was outdated. These leather couches are awful. They look like they belong in an old folks' home. Old folks' home. I was 69 years old. The sofa was uncomfortable. The curtains let in too much light. The bathroom had mold in the grout. Every comment was like a thorn. But I swallowed it all, because Mike seemed happy. Or at least that is what I wanted to believe. One night, a month after they moved in, Chris showed up. Mike invited me over to watch the game. Sir, Chris, make yourself comfortable. But Mike was not even home. He had stayed late at work. Chris stayed anyway, sitting on the sofa next to Vanessa, the two of them watching TV, laughing, speaking in hushed voices. I walked through the living room to get some water. I saw his hand on the sofa's armrest, way too close to hers. Do you need anything? Robert, Vanessa asked with a smile. No? I am going to sleep. I closed the door to my bedroom. That small bedroom that was not really mine, and I tried not to think about what I was seeing. But deep down, I already knew. I just did not want to admit it. Because admitting it meant accepting that my son had married a lie, and that I had paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to finance that lie. 2 months after they moved in, Vanessa walked into the living room with a home decor magazine under her arm. It was Sunday morning, and I was drinking my coffee alone. Mike had gone out for a run, a new habit Vanessa had convinced him to take up. Pops, can I sit? Sure. She opened the magazine to a marked page. A modern, minimalist house. All white and gray. Nothing that resembled my home. Robert, I have an idea. Mike and I were talking. Your house is wonderful. It has incredible potential, but it needs a few tweaks. You know, I felt an alarm go off in my head. What kind of tweaks a remodel? Nothing too big, she said quickly, smiling. But look, fresh paint, replacing this old furniture, modernizing the kitchen, making the bathroom more current. The house would go up so much in value, and you would feel renewed. Too, renewed. As if I were an old piece of furniture that needed restoring. Vanessa, I do not have the money for a remodel right now. I spent a lot on the wedding. I know. She placed her hand over mine in that fake, affectionate way. But that is exactly why. You invested so much in us. Now let us return the favor. Mike and I are going to pay for the remodel. It is our gift to you. A gift that is not necessary. Vanessa, the house is fine the way it is. Robert, she interrupted me, still smiling, but her tone had changed. With all due respect, the house is not fine. It is old. It is falling apart. The plaster on the exterior wall is peeling off. There are leaks in the kitchen ceiling. If we fix them now, it will not get worse and more expensive. She was not entirely wrong. The house did need maintenance, but a complete remodel. Mike walked in right at that moment, sweaty from his run. Dad, did Vanessa tell you about the remodel? She told me, but I do not think it is necessary. Dad, he sat down next to me. Let us do this. We are living here for free, saving on rent. It is only fair to return the favor. And honestly, the house needs it. You complain yourself about the leaky faucet, the water heater that makes noises all the time. I looked at both of them. My son, sweaty, with the look of someone who just wants to help, and Vanessa with that perfect smile. How much would it cost? Vanessa opened a small notebook. She already had figures written down. Of course she did. I got some quotes. Between materials and labor, about $100,000. I almost choked on my coffee. But we can split it with you, Mike said quickly. We put in half. You put in the other half. It is $50,000 for each side. It is an investment in the house. Dad, the value will go up. $50,000. Nearly a quarter of what I had already spent on the wedding. I do not know. Son, let me think about it. Robert. Vanessa closed the magazine. No pressure. Okay, but if we are going to do it, it has to be soon. I found an excellent contractor, but he is in high demand. If you do not decide this week, we will have to wait months. Pressure without pressure. I spent 3 days thinking, looking at the walls of my house, the floors that really were worn down, the faucets that dripped, the furniture that bore the marks of 40 years of use. Maybe they were right. Maybe the house did need it. On the 4th day, I accepted. All right, let's do the remodel. Vanessa's smile was instant. Oh, Pops, you are going to see how beautiful it will look. Mike hugged me. Thank you for trusting us. Dad. The next day, Vanessa showed up with the contractor, a man in his 50s named Gary. He had a clipboard full of papers. He measured, took photos, wrote everything down. Vanessa followed him, pointing her finger. Here we tear down this wall. Over there we put gray and white tile. This entire kitchen needs to be redone. Tear down the wall. Nobody had said anything about demolishing anything. Pops, trust us. It is to expand the living room. It is going to look so much more modern. Gary handed over the final estimate. $110,000. 10,000 more than what Vanessa had said. That is because it includes upgrades, she explained, like replacing the old electrical wiring. Essential for safety. Mike approved everything. And I went to the bank. I withdrew my $55,000. I gave the money to Mike, who deposited it along with his share into Vanessa's account. It is to make the payments easier. Dad, Vanessa is managing everything. The work started on a Monday. 3 men arrived at 7 in the morning with drills, jackhammers, bags of cement. The noise was deafening. The first few days, they just broke things. The wall between the living room and the kitchen came down, dust everywhere. The smell of paint, knocked, glue, and then they started touching the furniture. Robert, we are going to have to move this old furniture out of here. It is in the way of the construction, Gary said. You can put it in the backyard. I will cover it with a tarp, I suggested. But when I went out to run errands and came back, half the furniture had disappeared. Vanessa, where is the leather armchair? The brown one that was in the living room. She did not even look at me. Busy on her phone. Oh, that one. I threw it away. It was ancient. Bops. Turned. Ugly. Nobody would want it. I felt the air leave my lungs. You threw it away? Yes. And that wall clock, too. The one that made noise every hour. I gave it to Gary. He said his dad likes those antique things. The pendulum clock. The clock Lucy bought on our honeymoon in Napa Valley. The clock that chimed at 6 in the evening every single day. And I always stopped to listen to it. Vanessa. My voice was shaking. You had no right to do that. Those things were mine. They belonged to Lucy. She finally looked at me. And in that gaze, for the first time, I saw pure coldness. Robert, with all due respect, they were old, useless things. If I had asked you, you would have made a fuss and never agreed to throw them out. I did you a favor. A favor, my voice rose. You destroyed my wife's memories. Mike came running in from outside. What is all this yelling? Your wife threw away your mother's things, Vanessa sighed. Playing the victim. Mike, I just got rid of that old couch and a broken clock. It was not broken, I shouted. It worked perfectly. Mike looked at me, then looked at her. Dad. She did not mean any harm. Vanessa was just trying to help. Help! Mike, that armchair was where your mother sat every night to read. Where she sat the last night before. Before. I could not finish. The tears came. Mike stepped closer. Dad! I know. But it was just a chair. We can buy a similar one. Just a chair. I looked at my son, and for the first time, I did not recognize him. Get out of here, I muttered. Dad. Get out of here, he left. Vanessa did too. I heard the door to the bedroom. My bedroom slammed shut. I was left alone in the destroyed living room. Exposed walls. Dust covering everything. The empty space where the brown armchair used to be. And I realized they were not remodeling my house. They were erasing my history. The remodel lasted 2 months. 2 months of noise, of dust, of strangers walking in and out of my house. 2 months of watching every familiar corner get destroyed and rebuilt into something I did not recognize. When they finished, Vanessa called me to see the result. Pops, come see. It looks amazing. I stepped out of my small bedroom, because that is what it had become. A narrow bedroom, where my bed and a wardrobe barely fit, and walked toward the living room. I stopped at the doorway and felt like crying. Everything was white. White walls. A white sofa. Light gray curtains. The dark wood floors Lucy had picked out were covered with cold gray tiles. The wall between the living room and the kitchen was gone. It was an open concept, completely devoid of soul. The furniture was new, modern, with no history. Isn't it gorgeous? Vanessa spun around with her arms wide open, as if showing me a palace. It is different. I muttered, different, it is current. Look at this LED lighting, these neutral colors. The space, now the house actually has value. Value. Mike appeared carrying boxes. Dad, look how great it turned out. It feels like a brand new house. It was. And that was exactly the problem, because it was no longer my house. It was theirs. In the following days, Vanessa enforced more changes. Robert, now that the house is beautiful, we need to keep it organized. Right, she taped a piece of paper to the fridge. I made a chore chart. Days to clean each room. Meal schedules. Kitchen rules. Rules in my own house. See here. Dinner is always at 7. Nothing left in the sink after 9. The trash must be taken out every night. And here, she pointed at the paper, I noted that you are responsible for lunch. Since Mike and I work, but for dinner, we will rotate. Sounds good. She did not wait for an answer. She just walked away. I stared at that paper. My life was now being controlled by the schedule of a 29-year-old girl. I started feeling like a guest. I woke up early, made coffee in silence, cleaned the house, cooked the meals. Mike left at 7 in the morning and came back at 8 at night. Vanessa woke up late, messed around on her laptop, went out to run errands. Chris started showing up almost every day. Hello, Robert. Is Mike around? No. He is working. Oh, then I will wait. Vanessa told me I could come over. He would walk in, sit on the new sofa. He would stay there laughing with Vanessa, watching TV shows, asking for beers as if he were part of the family. One afternoon I walked through the living room and saw them sitting very close. She had the laptop on her legs. He was leaning in looking at the screen, his hand resting on the back of the sofa, way too close to her shoulder. Do you need something? Robert, Vanessa asked, without taking her eyes off the screen. No, just passing through. But my heart was beating irregularly. I started avoiding the living room. I stayed locked in my bedroom. I read, watch TV with the volume low, trying not to be a bother. Not to be a bother. I cared. Then came the night I heard everything. One night, 3 months after they moved in, I could not sleep. It was 2 in the morning, and I heard voices in the living room. Low, but audible. I opened the door carefully. The hallway was dark, but the living room light was on. I crept closer and listened. Calm down. Baby. Just a little longer. It was Vanessa's voice. I am tired of this charade. Vanessa. When are you going to get that power of attorney? It was Chris's voice. My blood ran cold. I am working on it, she replied, sounding irritated. The old man is stubborn, but I will get it. Once he signs, everything will be easier. We will take control of his accounts, liquidate the investments, sell the house. And that idiot Mike, I heard a little laugh. He will swallow it all in silence. Like always. He is so blind he does not notice a thing. Power of attorney. Sell the house. That idiot Mike. I went back to my bedroom without making a sound. I sat on the bed, trembling. They were planning to rob me, and my son had no idea. The next day, I acted as if nothing had happened. I made the coffee, cleaned the house, smiled when Mike said good morning to me. But my mind was racing. I needed proof. I needed to be absolutely certain before making any accusations. A week went by. Vanessa was acting nicer. Suspiciously nice. Bops. Today I am going to make a special dinner. Invite Anthony. Invite some friends. Let us properly debut the new house. On Saturday, she set a beautiful table. Food. To wine. Dessert. Mike was happy. Anthony and 2 other couples came over. Halfway through dinner, Vanessa clinked her glass. Everyone. I would like to propose a toast to Robert, who welcomed us with open arms, to family and to the future. Everyone clapped. I forced a smile. After dinner, when everyone had left, Vanessa and Mike called me into the living room. Dad, sit down here. My stomach tied in knots. Mike pulled out a folder and opened it. There were several papers inside. Dad, Vanessa and I have been talking. You are getting older. 69 years old now. Right? And with so many things to manage. Accounts. Investments. This house. We are worried. Worried about what Vanessa put her hand on my arm. Pops, do not take this the wrong way, but you forget things sometimes. Last week you left the stove on all night. The other day you could not remember if you had paid the electric bill. Lies. I had never forgotten any of those things. We want to help you. Mike continued. That is why we prepared this. He pulled a document out of the folder. It is a power of attorney. It allows Vanessa and me to manage your assets, just to make things easier for you, so you do not have to worry about anything anymore. Power of attorney. The exact words I had heard in her conversation. I took the paper. I read it. General power of attorney with full authority. Bank accounts. Investments. The sale of real estate. Everything. Mike. This gives you total control over my life. It is just to help. Dad, for your own good, for our good. I looked at both of them. My son, with that look of someone who genuinely believes he is doing the right thing. And Vanessa, with that fake smile and those calculating eyes. I need to think about it. Vanessa's smile vanished. Think about it. Robert, it is for your own benefit. I do not understand the resistance. I said I need to think about it. I stood up. I grabbed my wallet and went out for a walk. It was 8 at night, but I needed air. When I got back, the house was dark. I went to my bedroom, locked the door, and cried until my pillow was soaked. My son wanted to take everything from me. Or worse, he didn't want to, but he was being manipulated by that viper. I lay there staring at the ceiling, thinking about Lucy, about what she would do in this situation. And then my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I answered. Mr. Robert, this is Jason, the wedding photographer. Do you have a few minutes? I need you to come to my studio tomorrow if possible. I found something in the photos. Something you need to see, and please, do not tell anyone. I hung up the phone, my hand trembling. That call was going to change everything. I just did not know how much yet. I did not sleep that night. I stayed staring at the ceiling of the small bedroom, thinking about the photographer's call, the power of attorney, the conversation I had overheard between Vanessa and Chris. Everything was starting to connect, but I was still missing the final piece of the puzzle. The next morning, a Tuesday, I waited for Mike to leave for work. Vanessa was in the bedroom, still asleep. She always woke up late. I put on my jeans, a plain shirt, grabbed my wallet, and left quietly. Jason's studio was downtown, a 20-minute bus ride away. I got off right in front, went up 2 floors, and rang the bell. He opened the door almost immediately. He looked even more tired than the last time. Robert, thank you for coming. We went inside. The same room. The same computer turned on. But this time, he had more files open. I did not want to do this over the phone. He started, pointing to a chair. What I am about to show you is complicated. I sat down, gripping my wallet. He clicked on a folder. The photos I had already seen popped up. Vanessa and Chris kissing in the back of the reception hall. You already know about these. But there is more. He clicked on another folder. A sequence of photos appeared. Vanessa and Chris at different moments during the reception. Talking near the bar. Laughing in the garden. Their hands intertwined under the table during dinner. It was throughout the entire wedding. It was not just one moment. It was the whole night. But what worried me the most, Jason continued, was this. He opened a zoomed-in photo. Vanessa had her back turned, talking on the phone, away from the party. The photographer had caught her by accident. I can read her lips. I took a lip-reading course to work with deaf clients. Look at what she is saying. He traced his finger across the screen, following the movement of the lips in the photo. I did it. Baby. He paid for everything. Now, it is just the second phase. I felt the floor drop out from under me. There is more. Look at the timestamp on this photo. 11:40 at night. Just minutes after she cut the cake with your son. Baby. She was calling someone baby during her own wedding. Who was she calling? Jason clicked on another photo. Chris. At the exact same time. Standing alone in the parking lot. Phone to his ear. Smiling. They talked all night. Robert. Over the phone. Through text messages. While your son was celebrating his wedding, I closed my eyes, feeling nausea rise in my throat. I can give you all these photos, Jason said softly. But before you do anything, you need to be sure of what you are up against. This is not just a betrayal. It looks planned, premeditated. I opened my eyes. I know. I heard them talking. They are trying to get me to sign a power of attorney. Jason turned pale. Power of attorney. I told him everything. The remodel. The things thrown away. The manipulative living situation. The late-night conversation I had overheard. He shook his head. Robert, this is fraud. Financial fraud targeting the elderly. It has a name. Elder financial abuse. But my son, Mike, does not know anything. He would never do that to me. I know. That is why you need solid proof before you talk to him. Because when you accuse them, she is going to deny it. She is going to say you are confused. Senile. And if your son believes her. He did not need to finish the sentence. What should I do? Jason thought for a moment. Do you have money saved up to hire a private detective? Yes. Then hire one. Quickly. Get concrete proof. Recordings. And photos. Documents. Anything that links her to Chris. Then find a lawyer. Put together a plan. And only then, when you have everything in hand, you confront them. I left the studio with the USB drive in my hands and a certainty in my chest. I was not going to let them walk all over me. I spent the afternoon searching. I found a private detective online. Edward Miller. 5-star rating. I sent him a message. He replied within half an hour. I made an appointment to meet at a coffee shop the next day. Edward was a man in his 40s, with graying hair and the sharp gaze of someone experienced. He sat across from me and listened to everything without interrupting. Robert, I am going to be direct. This is a textbook case. I have seen dozens like this. The scammer targets someone with assets, gets involved with the family, manipulates, and takes everything. I can get proof, but it is going to cost you $500 to start. Surveillance, recordings, a full background check into her past, 2 weeks of work, $500 coming out of my account. But it was an investment. It was survival. Can you start today? He smiled. I already started. I looked her up online on my way here. Vanessa Foster. Right, I nodded. She has a record. 3 previous relationships with older men, all ended in lawsuits or out-of-court settlements for embezzlement. She is a professional. My stomach turned. And Chris, I have preliminary information on him too. He and she have been together for at least 4 years. There are old social media photos. Before she deleted them, I archived it all. They planned this. Robert, they targeted your son. Targeted how long before we have everything? 10 days. I will tail her. Record conversations. Recover everything. You will have enough ammunition to put an end to this fraud. I left the coffee shop with my head spinning. 10 days. Just 10 more days. I went back home. Vanessa was in the living room painting her nails. Where were you? Robert, doctor. I lead. Everything okay? Yes. I went to my bedroom. I locked the door. I sat on the bed and took a deep breath. That night, Mike got home earlier. He called me into the living room. Vanessa was there, smiling. Dad, did you think about the power of attorney? I looked at both of them. I forced a tired smile. I am still thinking about it. So? Just give me a few more days. Vanessa's smile faded slightly. Robert, the longer you wait, the harder it is to manage things. Your account is already full of late payments. A lie. I knew exactly what the status of my account was. A few more days, I repeated firmly. Mike Sihil. All right, Dad. But do not take too long. Okay. I went back to my bedroom. I picked up my cell phone and sent a message to Edward. I need you to be fast. They are pressing me. The reply came in seconds. Understood. I will speed up the process. The following 10 days were a silent hell. I acted normal. I cooked. I cleaned. I smiled when necessary. But inside, I was preparing my counterattack. Edward sent me daily updates. Photos of Vanessa meeting Chris at hotels, recordings of their conversations planning the fraud, and worst of all, a recording of them laughing, calling me a naive old man, easy to manipulate. When I heard that, I cried alone in the bathroom. But those tears quickly turned into rage. On the 10th day, Edward sent me a complete dossier, 50 pages of reports, photos, recordings, a timeline of everything. It is all here. Robert, now you need a lawyer. I made an appointment with Marshall Taylor, a lawyer specializing in family law and financial crimes. He read the report and shook his head. Robert, you have a very solid case. I can help you protect your assets. And even more, you can sue her for fraud, forgery, and breach of trust. She is looking at 2 to 5 years in prison. I do not want to sue. I just want her away from me and my son. I told him, then let us do things differently. Let us confront her publicly with the evidence, in front of the family. That way she will not be able to deny it or manipulate her way out of it. How? Marshall smiled. Leave it to me. But you will have to be brave and be ready to watch the truth explode. 3 days later, everything was ready. I was going to deliver the final blow. And this time, I would not be the victim. The recordings arrived on a Thursday morning. Edward sent them to me via email with a warning. Robert, prepare your heart. This is going to hurt. I was home alone. Ashley had gone out to run some errands. Mike was at work. I put on my headphones, lay down on the bed in the small bedroom, and hit play. Her voice came through clear and crisp. She was talking on the phone, probably to Chris. Baby, relax. Everything is under control. I have the old man wrapped around my finger. Just one more little push. And he signs that power of attorney. Pause. He must have been replying. I know it is taking a while, but it is worth it. The house is easily worth $1 million. And he still has around $50,000 in savings. Once we get access, we liquidate everything and get out of here. My stomach churned. $1 million. 50,000. She knew everything. Her voice continued. Lower. Almost intimate. And Mike. A laugh. Oh, honey. He does not suspect a thing. He is such a fool. So naive. He believes everything I tell him. When we are done, I will ask for a divorce. Make up a story that he cheated on me. Take half of everything. And we disappear. Laughter. They were both laughing. I agree. Baby, it was the best idea we have ever had. Marrying the idiot. Gaining the dad's trust. Stealing it all. Brilliant. I paused the audio. I took off my headphones. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling. Idiot. She had called my son an idiot. And worse, she had called the fraud their best idea. I wiped my tears away. I took a deep breath and kept listening. The second recording was even worse. Chris, you should have seen his face when I threw out that armchair. He almost had a heart attack. Laughter. But it was good. We had to erase everything of that old lady. The house is ours now. When we sell it, nobody will even remember it belonged to him. Nobody will remember it belonged to him. My house, my history, my life, all reduced to an obstacle to be erased. The third recording was an in-person conversation between Ashley and Chris. Edward Mason had managed to record them at a restaurant where they met. How much longer do we have to put up with this charade? Chris asked, sounding irritated. A month? Tops. As soon as he signs, we move the money, put the house up for sale, and invent an emergency. like a family illness. Whatever. We vanish. And Mike, I will leave him a letter saying it did not work out, that I fell in love with someone else. He will suffer a bit. He will cry. But he will get over it. Men always get over it. Chris laughed. You are so bad. Baby. No. Baby. I am smart. I turned it off. I could not listen to any more. Edward had sent me 12 recordings. 12 different conversations. All with the same tone. Mockery. Calculation. Cruelty. But there was more in the report. It detailed her entire history. Ashley and Chris had been together for 4 years. They met at a bar in the city. She used to run small scams, faking interest in older men, taking their money, and disappearing. Chris was a failed real estate agent, drowning in debt. The two teamed up and created a system. She would seduce men with assets, marry them or get close to their families, obtain power of attorney or access to their accounts, and vanish. Mike was her third victim. The previous two had given up on pressing charges out of shame, but Edward had managed to contact one of them, a 60-year-old businessman named Mark. He confirmed everything. Ashley got close, married him, got access to his accounts, and disappeared with $50,000. She is a professional, Mark told me over the phone, his voice tired but polite. She knows exactly what to do, what to say. I fell for it. My children warned me. I did not listen. I lost my money and my dignity. I hung up the phone, my chest tight. Mike was being manipulated by a criminal, and I had been the bridge. Edward had also investigated how Ashley and Mike met. He discovered it was a setup. Chris knew Mike from the gym, befriended him, made small talk, found out he was the only son of a wealthy widower, and deliberately introduced him to Ashley. Everything was planned. Every step, every word, every smile. On the 12th day, I sat down with Marshall, my lawyer, in his office. He read the full report, listened to the recordings, and slammed his hand on the desk. Robert, this is a crime, aggravated fraud, criminal conspiracy. You can and should press charges. I do not want a trial. I want justice. I want everyone to know who she is, especially my son, I said. Then let us organize a public ambush. Gather the family, present the evidence, and leave her no way out. How Marshall smiled. Let me handle it, but you will have to be brave and ready to watch the truth explode. 3 days later, everything was ready. I had booked a downtown restaurant, an elegant place with a private room. I invited Anthony, Victoria, cousins, close friends, 12 people in total, and, of course, Chris was also on the list. We arrived at 8 in the evening. A large table, beautiful decorations, discreet waiters. Mike was happy, chatting with everyone. Ashley looked stunning in a fitted red dress, her makeup perfect. Chris arrived last, hugged Mike, and greeted everyone. When he looked at Ashley, the two exchanged a quick glance. I saw it, and I smiled on the inside. During dinner, I talked, laughed, and joked. Everyone was relaxed and happy. Until it was time for dessert, I tapped my wine glass with my fork. Everyone looked at me. Thank you all for being here. Tonight is special because today I am going to tell a story of lies, betrayal, and justice. Mike frowned. Dad, let me finish. Son, a waiter brought in a screen. Marshall, who was sitting quietly in a corner, turned on the projector. The first photo appeared on the screen. Ashley and Chris kissing at the wedding. The silence was deafening. Mike turned pale, looking at the screen. Then at me. Then at Ashley. Dad. What is this? Ashley stood up, her face red. Robert. What kind of joke is this? Sit down. My voice came out firm. Sharp. I am not finished. She hesitated. Chris was petrified in his chair. Sweating. I clicked the remote. The next image appeared. The two of them holding hands during the party. Then another. Her on the phone. The zoom showing her lips. Saying, I did it. Baby. He paid for everything. These photos were taken at your wedding. Mike. By the photographer I paid $5,000 for. While you were celebrating, your wife was cheating on you with your best friend. Mike turned to Ashley, his voice trembling. Ashley. Explain this. She tried to cry. She put her hands over her face. Mike. Baby. It is not what it looks like. I was just emotional. Chris was comforting me. Lie. I clicked again. Now a document appeared on the screen. The full investigation. Photos of the two of them together at hotels. Transcripts of old conversations. You two have been together for 4 years. You planned everything. Chris introduced her to you on purpose. Mike. After finding out you were the only son of a widower with assets, Anthony covered his mouth with his hand. Victoria whispered, Oh my God. The other guests looked back and forth between the screen and the accused, absolutely horrified. Mike was in shock. 4 years wait. There is more. Hit play. The first recording started. Ashley's voice filled the room. Baby. Relax. Everything is under control. I have the old man wrapped around my finger. Just one more little push. And he signs that power of attorney. Mike closed his eyes. I know it is taking a while, but it is worth it. The house is easily worth $1 million, and he still has around $50,000 in savings. Once we get access, we liquidate everything and get out of here. Ashley stood up, her voice desperate. It is fake. Somebody edited that. It is forged. Shut up, Mike screamed. I had never heard my son scream like that. Let it play. The recording continued. And Mike, oh, honey, he does not suspect a thing. He is such a fool. So naive. He believes everything I tell him. When we are done, I will ask for a divorce. Make up a story that he cheated on me. Take half of everything. And we disappear. Mike opened his eyes. Tears were rolling down his face. Then came her laughter. His laughter, I agree. Baby. It was the best idea we have ever had. Marrying the idiot. Gaining the dad's trust. Stealing it all. Brilliant. I played the second recording. Ashley, laughing about throwing out Betty's armchair, talking about erasing my history from the house. I played the third recording, the two of them planning to disappear with the money. With each recording, Ashley grew paler. Chris tried to stand up. If you get out of that chair. I am calling the police right now. He sat back down. When the last recording finished, the silence was absolute. Even the waiters had stopped working. Mike was hunched over, his face in his hands, his shoulders shaking as he cried. Victoria broke the silence. Robert, is all of this real? I picked up the file Marshall had given me. Here are 50 pages of investigation, photos of them at hotels, a history of her running the same scam on other men, conversations, evidence, everything. Whoever wants to see it. Go ahead. I passed the file around. Anthony was the first to flip through it. He turned red with anger. You make me sick. He yelled at Ashley. You snake. How could you do this to a family? Ashley finally snapped. She stopped pretending. Her face twisted into pure rage. Do what I used, what I have. Did you think I was going to spend my life working a dead-end job just to pay rent? This old man had money just sitting there. He was going to die alone anyway. I just sped up the process. The room exploded. People were screaming, cursing. Mike stood up and pointed a finger at her. Get out. Get out of here right now. But I raised my hand. Wait. Everyone looked at me. I am still not finished. I turned to Ashley. You and Chris are going to pay me back every single penny for that renovation. $100,000. You have 60 days by law. If not, I am filing charges for fraud, breach of trust, and criminal conspiracy. I pointed to Marshall. My lawyer already has everything prepared. Chris choked on his words. I do not have that kind of money. Then sell your car. Borrow it. Do whatever you want. I do not care. But you will pay. I turned back to Ashley. And you? You are out of my house tomorrow at 10 in the morning. If you are not out, I am calling the police to evict you. She tried to speak, but I kept going. And you can forget about taking anything from Mike. The marriage is being annulled due to fraud. You get nothing. Nothing. Marshall stepped forward with a piece of paper. I have the annulment papers right here. Proven fraud. The marriage is void. Mike took the paper. He signed it without hesitating. Ashley finally lost it. Who do you think you are? The perfect family, Robert. You are just a bitter old man who paid for company. Mike, you are a coward who needs his daddy for everything. Anthony threw a glass of water at her. Show some respect. The restaurant's security guards appeared. Marshall had warned them we might need them. They escorted Ashley and Chris out. She was screaming, resisting. He walked out in silence, his head down. When the door closed, the room fell silent. Mike collapsed into his chair, his face buried in his hands. I walked over and put my hand on his shoulder. Son, Dad? His voice came out muffled, full of pain. I did not know. I swear to you, I did not know. I know. She used us. And me, I let it happen. I defended her when you tried to warn me. I did not believe you. I knelt in front of him and held his face in my hands. Mike, you were a victim. She is a professional at this. It was not your fault. He cried on my shoulder, my 37-year-old son, crying like a little boy. And I cried with him because, even after everything, the betrayal, the fraud, the humiliation, the pain of seeing my son suffer was worse than all the rest. Anthony came over and hugged us both. Then Victoria. Soon, the entire table was gathered around us, supporting us, comforting us. When Mike finally calmed down, he wiped his face and looked at me. Dad, forgive me for everything, for bringing her into your life, for not protecting you. Son, you were deceived. You have nothing to apologize for. Yes? I do. I let her destroy your things, take your bedroom, humiliate you in your own house. I failed as a son. I shook my head. You did not fail. You just trusted the wrong person. And now, we fixed this. Together, we went back home that night. Mike, Anthony, Emily, and me. When we walked in, Mike looked around the cold, white, soulless living room. Dad, we are going to fix this. I am going to get your armchair back. I am going to find a clock just like that one. We will, I said, holding his hand. We will fix it together. He hugged me tightly. That night, I slept for the first time in months, feeling like I had taken control of my life back. And the next day, true justice was coming. Sunday, 10 in the morning. I was in the living room, that cold white room that no longer felt like mine, waiting. Mike was tense beside me. Anthony and Emily were in the kitchen drinking coffee. Marshall had arrived early with a discreet process server. We had changed the locks the night before. A locksmith friend of Anthony's came over in an emergency. He charged $150 and got the job done in an hour. 10:15. Nothing. 10:30. Silence. Then the doorbell rang. Insistent. Repeated. Mike went to the intercom. Who is it? It is me. Open this door. Ashley's voice was hysterical. Your things are right here. In suitcases. You can pick them up at the door. I live here. You cannot stop me from coming in. Marshall stepped up to the intercom. Ashley. This is the family's attorney. You have an eviction order against you for marital fraud. Your belongings will be handed over now. If you try to force your way in, the police will be called. Silence on the other end. Mike grabbed 3 large suitcases, everything she owned, and placed them by the door. He opened it just enough to push the bags outside. Ashley was standing there. Her hair was a mess. Her makeup was smeared. Her clothes were wrinkled. She looked nothing like the perfect woman from a few weeks ago. Mike, please. She tried to grab his arm. We can talk. I can explain. He pulled his arm back. Do not touch me. I love you. That was all a lie. All of it. 4 years. Ashley. His voice was firm, harsh. 4 years. You planned this. You used my father. You humiliated him. You destroyed my mother's memories. And you called me a naive idiot. She tried to cry. But no one bought it anymore. You have 60 days to return the $100,000 for the remodel. Mike continued. If you do not pay, my father is pressing charges. And this time, there will be no settlement. You will go to jail. I do not have that kind of money. Then find it. Sell your designer clothes. Your jewelry. Your perfumes. I do not care. He stepped inside and slammed the door in her face. We listened to her screaming outside for another 5 minutes. Then, his silence. She was gone. Mike leaned against the door, taking a deep breath. It is over. Not yet, I replied. We still have to deal with Chris. Marshall confirmed it. Chris had until the next day to respond to the notice. If he did not respond, we would file the lawsuit. The following day, Monday, Chris showed up at Marshall's office. Mike and I went together. Chris looked destroyed, deep bags under his eyes. A few days' worth of stubble, wrinkled clothes. I do not have $100,000, he said quietly. Not even half of that. Then you will have to find it. Marshall replied coldly. Sell your car, your apartment, borrow it. My apartment has a mortgage on it. My car is worth maybe $20,000. Tops. I have no way to pay that. Mike leaned forward, staring him down. You were my friend. Chris, my best friend. I trusted you, and you did this to me. Chris lowered his head. Mike, Do not speak to me, Mike slammed his hand on the desk. You destroyed my life. You used me. You laughed at me. You called me an idiot behind my back. Silence. How much do you actually have right now? I asked directly. Like $5,000. If I sell the car, I can get to $20,000. It is not enough. I know. But it is all I have. Marshall looked over some paperwork. We can set up a court-ordered payment plan. $20,000 immediately. $80,000 in payments over 2 years. with interest. Chris swallowed hard. And if I cannot pay prison for fraud, 2 to 6 years. He signed the agreement right there, his hand shaking. When we walked out of the office, Mike took a deep breath. It is really over. Dad, it is finally over. But there was still one thing left to do. We had to rebuild. Over the next few days, Mike took time off work. Dad, I am staying here. I am going to fix what I helped destroy. First, we painted the walls. We got rid of that cold, flat white, and chose a warm yellow that resembled the original color of the house. Then, we went looking for furniture. Mike searched antique shops all over the city. Until one rainy Thursday, he called me from his car, sounding excited. Dad, I found it. I found the armchair. He had found a brown leather armchair in an antique store downtown, almost identical to mine. It cost $400. Mike paid for it without a second thought. When he brought it home and placed it in the corner of the living room, I sat in it and cried. It is just like it. San, it is identical. Mike knelt in front of the chair and ran his hand over the leather. Mom, forgive me. Forgive me for not protecting what was yours. I cried even harder. The pendulum clock was much harder to find. We searched for weeks until Victoria found an ad online. An antique wall clock. German pendulum. Chimed every hour. It cost $250. When Mike hung it on the wall and the clock struck 6 in the evening, it chimed. That familiar, comforting sound filled the house again. I stopped what I was doing, closed my eyes, and felt Betty right there with me. Welcome home. Honey, I whispered. With the money, Chris started paying the initial $20,000. We renovated the house again. But this time we did it right. We hired a new contractor. We put the wall back up between the living room and the kitchen. We ripped up the gray tile and put down warm hardwood floors. We brought back the colors, the life, the memories. It took 3 months. But when we finished, the house was mine again. Mike kept living with me. But things were different now. He helped out. He cooked with me on Sundays. He watched the news sitting in the armchair that had been his mother's. He talked. He laughed. He was present. Dad, I was so blind, he said one night while we were having coffee in the kitchen. So focused on looking happy that I forgot what really matters. And what matters you? Us. This house. Our history. I squeezed his hand. Now you know. Mike started therapy. It was his idea, not mine. One Tuesday morning, while drinking coffee with me, he said, Dad, I need to understand how I let this happen. I need to know myself better. 3 times a week, he went to see his therapist. He would come back quiet, thoughtful, but little by little, I started to see changes. He stopped constantly blaming himself. He stopped apologizing for everything. He started laughing again. That loud, belly laugh I had not heard since he was a kid. Doctor, Miranda told me something important. He shared with me one night. She said, manipulative people choose empathetic victims, people who want to see the best in others. It is not a weakness. Dad, it is just misdirected kindness. Misdirected kindness. I held on to that phrase. Lauren came into our lives slowly, without rushing. Mike met her in a photography class he decided to take as a hobby to fill the void Ashley had left. She was completely different from anyone he had ever known. Natural, curly hair. Simple clothes. Jeans and a t-shirt. She laughed loudly, swore when she got excited, and never held anything back. The first time she came to the house for dinner, she brought an apple pie She had baked herself. Robert, I am no baker, but my grandma taught me, and it is pretty good. So I hope you like it. I cut a slice. It was delicious. Did you really make this yourself? Yeah. You can ask Mike. He watched me completely trash the kitchen. She let out a genuine laugh. But I cleaned it all up after. I promise. I liked her immediately. Lauren did not fake anything. She wasn't overly sweet when she was mad. And she didn't smile unless she was actually happy. Above all, she treated Mike like an equal, not like a trophy. Babe, dial it back. She told him once, while the three of us were watching a movie. You do not have to pay for everything all the time. I work. I have my own money. We split it. Okay, Mike was speechless. I do not think he had ever heard that before. Lauren respected me too, but she did not overdo it. She did not give me fake pet names or pretend we had a deep intimacy right off the bat. She called me Robert. She asked for my opinion, but never hesitated to disagree when she felt like it. Robert, with all due respect, I think you went a little heavy on the salt with the stew, she said once, laughing. But the rest of it is amazing. I laughed too, because she was right. The house went back to normal. Slowly. Mike and I reclaimed every corner together. We found a dark wood wardrobe at a flea market, identical to the one Ashley had thrown away. It was a steal. Mike loaded it into the truck by himself. Sweating. It is worth it. Dad. Worth every drop of sweat. We put the old photos back on the walls. Betty holding Mike as a baby. Betty and me on our wedding day. Mike at his graduation. We hung up the lace curtains I had kept in the closet, the ones Ashley thought belonged in an old folks' home. Now they were back, filtering the afternoon light, making the living room feel warm. And we planted a new tree in the garden, right next to the old one. 2 generations, Mike said as he watered the sapling. 2 stories intertwining. When this one grows, he continued, it will bloom for my kids. Your grandchildren. My heart warmed. Chris paid off his debt. He made his final payment on a Thursday in October, exactly 2 years after everything went down. Marshall confirmed it over the phone. Robert, it is done. The debt has been cleared, down to the last cent. What do you want to do with that money? Mike asked. I thought about it. I looked around the house. Then at him. Half goes into savings. The other half we use to finish fixing up the house and maybe take a trip. You, me, and Lauren. What do you say? He smiled. That sounds incredible. We went to a charming coastal town, the same place I had taken Betty for our honeymoon. We stayed in a little inn, ate great seafood, and walked along the cobblestone streets. Lauren held my arm as we walked up a steep hill. Robert, thank you for including me. I know this trip has a very special meaning for you. It does. And that is exactly why I wanted you to be here. Because you make my son truly happy. She squeezed my arm and smiled. On that trip, on a cool July evening, the 2 of them called me out to the inn's patio. Dad, we have something to tell you. Mike was nervous. My heart raced. What is it? Lauren held up her hand. Simple. Delicate ring. We are getting married. I looked at them both. His nervous smile, her hopeful eyes. I pulled them both into a hug and started crying. Congratulations. Truly. Congratulations. Dad. We want to keep it small. Mike explained. No crazy expenses. Nothing over the top. Just close family. In the backyard of the house. Simple. And you do not have to pay for a thing. Lauren added quickly. We are already saving up. We are doing it our way. without being a burden on anyone. I held their faces in my hands. You have no idea how happy I am to hear that. The wedding was 6 months later. 30 people in the backyard. Lauren wore a simple dress she bought at a boutique downtown. It cost $200. Mike wore a suit he already owned. We cooked a homemade buffet together, me, Lauren, Anthony, and Emily. The priest who married them was the same one who had baptized Mike. It was a 30-minute ceremony, emotional and authentic. When the priest said, "I now pronounce you husband and wife," I looked up at the sky and felt Betty smiling down. We did it. "Honey," I whispered. Our boy found the right person. Mike and Lauren moved into a small apartment 10 minutes from the house. Rent was $1,500. 2 bedrooms. A balcony with plants. "Dad, we are coming to see you every week," Mike promised. "And you will come eat with us whenever you want." And they kept their word. Every Sunday, they were at my house, or I was at theirs. We cooked together, watched movies, and talked. Lauren taught me how to use messaging apps, how to make video calls, and how to look up recipes on my phone. "Robert, you have to modernize just a little bit, but without losing your essence." "Okay," I laughed with her, because she was right. As for Ashley, we never heard from her again. She vanished completely. Anthony said he heard a rumor that she had gone down to Texas, trying to pull the same scam on another family. "Let her be," I said. "Someday life collects its debts. It always does." And it did. 2 years after Mike got married, I received a phone call. It was a lawyer calling from Ohio. "Robert, do you know a woman named Ashley?" My blood ran cold. "Yes." "Why?" "She was arrested. Organized fraud. She ran a scam on a businessman out here. Got access to his accounts. And stole $50,000. He had recordings. Solid evidence. She just got sentenced to 4 years in prison." I hung up the phone. I stood there, frozen in thought. 4 years in prison. I told Mike that night. He stayed quiet for a long time. "I feel sorry for her," he finally said. "Not for what she is going through, but for the person she could have been if she had chosen to be honest." My son had grown up, and I had learned that rebuilding is not fast. And it is not easy. It is brick by brick, day after day. Choosing not to give up, I learned that true family isn't the people who use you. It is the people who stay when everything falls apart. The people who help you get back on your feet. Today, as I sit here, I am 69 years old. I have white hair that I no longer hide. Wrinkles that I wear with pride. Hands that shake just a little, but still hold firmly onto what is mine. I am sitting in the brown leather armchair, the same spot where Betty used to sit, the one Ashley threw out and Mike brought back. Beside me, on the wooden side table, is a steaming cup of coffee. On the wall, the pendulum clock has just struck 4 in the afternoon. Mike is in the kitchen with Lauren, the two of them preparing dinner. I hear their laughter, the clinking of pots, the sound of life continuing, and I look around this house, my house, and I think about everything I have been through. Some people might hear this story and think, "Poor man, he was scammed, robbed, and humiliated." But I was not a poor man. I was a fighter. Because I could have stayed quiet. I could have signed that power of attorney, handed everything over, and become invisible in my own life. I could have swallowed the humiliation and accepted the narrative Ashley wanted to push the forgetful, confused old man getting in the way of the young couple. But I refused. Lauren walks into the living room, smiling. "Robert, dinner is almost ready. Do you need a hand getting up?" "No need." "Sweetie, I can still manage on my own. She laughs. I know you can. Just offering. I lift myself out of the armchair. I feel a slight ache in my knee. Age creeping in. But I walk steadily into the kitchen. Mike has set the table. Cloth napkins. Nice plates. Polished silverware. Dad, I made that roast and potatoes you love. I sit down. He sits down. And we say the prayer we always say before we eat. A tradition Betty started that we never gave up. Thank you, God, for this food, for this family, for this life. Amen. They repeat. We eat and talk. Lauren shares a funny story about one of her students. Mike talks about a new project at work. I listen. I join in. I laugh. And I realize this is true wealth. Not the money in the bank. Not a massive house. Not an imported car. This exact moment. This table. These laughs. When they leave with long hugs. A kiss on the forehead. And a promise to be back next Sunday. I am left alone in the house. But I do not feel lonely. I turn on the radio. An old song plays. The kind Betty used to love. I dance by myself in the living room, running my hand over the furniture, feeling the texture of the wood, the leather of the armchair, the fabric of the curtains. All of this is mine. All of this I protected. All of this I reclaimed. When the pendulum clock strikes 10, I stop dancing. I look at the portrait of Betty hanging on the wall. Honey, I did it. I protected our home. I protected our son. And I protected myself. 2. I do not know if it is just my imagination, but I swear I can see her smile grow just a little wider in the photo. I close the window, turn off the lights in the living room, and head to my bedroom. It is no longer the small bedroom in the front. It is the master bedroom again. The one where I slept next to Betty for 30 years. I lie down in bed, pull up the blanket she gave me for our first anniversary, and close my eyes. I drift off to sleep with the clear conscience of a man who did exactly what he had to do. Those wedding photos that should have been nothing more than beautiful memories ended up showing me the truth. And the truth, no matter how painful it might be, always sets you free.